Do I have enough blush? Can add some more. Hi lovies, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Roxanne Simone, your new makeup bestie. In today's look, we created something very pink, obviously. Eyes, blush blindness, pink lips. So without further yapping, let's hop into the video. Since we're doing more of a glowy finish today for skin prep, I'm gonna always start off with sunscreen. Not because you're black, you don't need sunscreen. This is an Abib Airy Sunstick. It works under any makeup. It doesn't have a white cast, but yeah, we do need to wear sunscreen. Whether or not you're dry or oily, I always recommend that you moisturize. I've already moisturized, but I do want to go in this Danessa Myricks 1010 Barrier Boost. This stuff is tea. So I just use it to add a little bit more moisture to my skin since I'll be wearing makeup all day. I also want to add some eye cream. It doesn't matter the eye cream that you use, but I always add eye cream because I have combination, oily to combination skin, especially in the summertime. Eye cream, don't forget it. So before applying every step, you do want to allow the previous one to dry down a little bit. For my brows, I'm not going to I already had it groomed, so I would recommend you get your eyebrows groomed. I just laminated them a little bit with the Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is the Brow Freeze, one of my favorites. I just apply it to my brows, allow it to get a little bit tacky, and then I press them down. So because they're groomed, they're not going to give me too much problem. Next up on the skin prep is this Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Blurring Balm, and this is in the universal one. It has a bit of radiance to it. So the idea is I'm not trying to be matte today. This is Summer Perfect Pinky Peachy makeup. And I just add it to my T-zones. Again, I am combination oily during the summer season. So I do prep my skin really well because the idea is to have the makeup lasting all day. Once I've finished doing my skin prep, what I like to do is color correcting. This is the Kosas color corrector and it's in the shade Alchemy. So naturally, I'm going to go around wherever I have discoloration or hyperpigmentation. And the reason I color correct is to make my finished base really perfect, because I don't want those shadows to peek through once I finish my makeup routine. So this dries down matte. If it's a case you use a color corrector that doesn't dry down matte, I would advise you to allow it to dry down. Allow it to dry down before you go in with your foundation. And with any product, once you're layering, you do want to allow each one to dry down. If you don't, it's gonna turn into mud. And that's not the goal. So wherever I might have a little bit of hyperpigmentation, I just do a little bit of spot correcting. Ever since I got this foundation, I haven't been able to put her down. It's a Natasha Denona Hyglam foundation. So it's hydrating, it's blurring. It costs a pretty penny, but we're going to use her. This is perfect for the summer season. It says Hyglam. It's giving luxury. I'm in the shade NP14. And how I like to apply my foundation, I don't just pump it on my face because we're not wasting product. I like to use a metal palette. Let's start off with 3 pumps. And I'm going to use a flat brush to apply my foundation. So I coat both sides of the brush. I got this brush off Shein. And I just use this to evenly distribute the product on my face. And if your product isn't applying smoothly to your face, you're either using the wrong products or you didn't skin prep really well. This one is extremely flat. So I'm not applying a lot, but it applies the product evenly to the skin. To buff this into the skin, I'm going to use the BK Beauty 101 foundation brush. And this is just to press it into the skin. So when doing your foundation, you don't want to swipe because we're not trying to create streaks in our face. You just want to buff it into the skin. Another tip, if you're applying your foundation and it's not applying evenly, your brush is probably dirty. So this product, with this flat brush, I'm just going to use this to carve the top portion of my brow, just to make it easier. I conceal the top portion of my brow with the same foundation. So this is the pink look that we came up with. Starting off with eyeshadow primer, the P. Louise base is my favorite eyeshadow base to use. You can use concealer, but I would recommend if you do use a concealer, you do want to set it because it might slip around. When you use an eyeshadow base, it allows, especially if you're of a richer skin tone, you want the shadows to show up brighter or more pigmented. So do go in with an eyeshadow base just to allow the shadows to show up more. First color I'm going to go in with is my transitional color. So like the base color, we're going to go in with a fluffy brush. This is a Jessup Luxe crease brush. This is what it looks like. It's a fluffy brush, a fluffy blending brush. And what I'm going to do is go in, I'm using the Juvia's Place Culture palette. And we're going to go in with this shade right here, Hobo right here. We're going to dip it into the product. We're going to go in a windshield wiper motion just to feather it out and create the base for the lid. The further to the end of the brush you hold, the lighter the product's going to be, and it's going to blend. It's going to diffuse the color. And when you want the color to be more pigmented, so I'm going to go closer to the tip, and this will give me more pigment. And then again, you want to blend the edges out. If you struggle with eyeshadow, it's because you're not blending enough and you're probably not using the right brushes. So for this next step, I'm not doing a cut crease, but I want to add different layers of pink. I want to add different shades of pink to my lid. So with a flat packing brush with the eyeshadow base, I'm going to just use this to lightly stamp on my lid, because right here, I'm going to put some more shades of pink. And I'm going to lightly tap this on my lid. Again, this is not a cut crease, but we're placing it in the crease. And I'm going to use the fluffy blending brush just to buff the edges of this out. Now with the same brush, I'm going to use the cleaner side, the side without concealer. I'm going to go in with this shade right here. Bend in. I'm going to pack the product onto the brush, like stamp it in. And I'm just going to go to the outer portion of my lid. Again, we're just doing shades of pink. Don't necessarily have to use the colors that I'm using. For the middle portion, I'm going to go in with my Juvia's Place. This is the Volume 4 Blush Duo. And I'm going to use this shade right here. Use a smaller packing brush. This is what the brush looks like. And I'm just going to go ahead and stamp this in the middle. So we're creating transitions of pink, and I'm just going to stamp it on just like this. So wherever two colors meet, you just want to lightly diffuse the edges together. And the inner portion, I'm going to go in with a shimmery pink. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Sugar Palette. And I'm using this pink shimmer right here. You can use any pink shimmer that you have. It gives a lot of payoff. And for shimmers, you don't want to swipe. You want to actually pack it onto the lid. Let's add some dimension in the face now, because this is flat. It's a really pretty very pretty base. But what I'm going to use for contour, very affordable. This is the e.l.f. Camo Liquid Bronzer and Contour in the shade Deep Rich. For contour, these are the places I like to add depth, right? Not necessarily in the hollows of my cheek, like just above it. My jawline, down the bridge of my nose. And to buff this out, I'm going to use a angled fluffy brush. And I'm just going to go ahead and just stipple this in place. So for contour, I'm not trying to bring it on the entirety of my face. Just like this, the jawline. And it's like we're pressing it into the skin. And whenever you place your products like your contour or your blush or your concealer, we want to place them in areas to lift our face, because we're not trying to bring it down. So we're not blending down. We're kind of blending on spot and slightly feathering it out upwards. And for the hairline portion, I'm just kind of buffing it into my hairline, if that makes sense. Since we're living a pink girl's dream today, I'm going to go in with two different blushes. It's the Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin, and this is in It Girl. and the Juvia's Place Liquid Blush in Peach Rose. Everybody kind of does it different. I like to put my blush down before I go in with my concealer. So I'm going to use a dense angled brush, and I'm just going to go ahead and kind of lay it on to the brush. She's pretty pigmented. And what I'm going to do today is actually use this. Maybe I won't have to go in with the Peach Rose. I think I'm just going to use this one today. I did kind of take up too much. Kind of buff her out. And I'm going to use my blush almost like a color corrector. So I didn't go in with any of my regular color corrector. I'm just going to go over the bridge of the nose. And we're just going to go ahead and like buff this into the skin. Blush blindness, maybe. Let's try a little bit of this. Just a little. And we're just going to buff this into the skin. A major tip when laying your cream products, you want to go ahead and use your foundation brush. There's barely anything on it, but we use this just to blend the edges of all the products because we don't want any harsh lines. And you just do this basically with every step. So for concealer, I like to use 2 different shades. One concealing like closer to my skin tone, maybe 1 shade lighter, and then one 3 to 4 shades lighter because I like to give that highlighted effect. How I place my concealer, it's like this. So this is a concealing shade. This is the Haus Triclone Skin Tech Concealer, and this is in shade 40 Medium Deep Golden. So this is how I place my concealer. To the high points, almost like right above between my cheek and my eyes. And again, this is to give you a lifted effect. My chin, my cupid's bow, down the bridge of my nose, and some right here. And I also like to do like a little bit of reverse contouring. And this gives the face dimension. Just a little bit around the mouth. And I will add a little here because I like to layer my product. It's not much, but that's how I like to layer it. For my highlighting concealer, I'm going to go in with the Chalotte Tilbury Airbrush Concealer, and this is in the shade 910, and I just place it right here, right in the inner portion of my eyes. That's it. Now, if you struggle with your concealer creasing under your eyes, it's because you're not allowing the product to sit for a bit. So we don't blend it out as soon as we put it down. We want to allow it to dry down a little bit. This way we get more coverage out of the concealer. To speed up the process, I like to use a fan just to get it to dry down quicker if you are strapped for time. To blend out my concealer, I'm going to use, it's a BK Beauty A506 brush. This is what she looks like. And I'm just going to start on the outer portion. This way it still allows the inner portion to dry down. Once the concealer is able to dry down, you will get the most coverage out of it. Just tapping motions and you buff the product into the skin, slightly feather it out. So as you can see, I'm working my way from the outer portion where I place my concealer. And I'm just using this to, you know, reverse contour my cupid's bow, the bridge of my nose, and then right here in the inner portion of my eyes. As you can see, with concealer, the places that you put your concealer is naturally where you want to be highlighted. It would be like where the sun hits you. So these would be the brightest parts of your face. So contouring gives you the dimension and concealer gives you highlight. Now for the under eye, for this portion, I start with the outer portion of the concealer that I place down. And I just take my time and I buff it into the skin. You can see how airbrush it is because I put the blush down first and then I blend the concealer into it. I'll go ahead and do it on the other side just the same. And I just blend it out. Now, I'm not ready to blend this portion as yet. I should have prepped. What I do is prep my setting powder. For setting powder of choice, I've been stuck on this for a while. I've tried basically all the setting powders out there, but I always grab for this one. It just gives me an airbrush finish and it's not heavy. because if you have like dry under eyes, I have oily to combination skin, but surprisingly my under eyes tend to get dry. So I try not to put too much product, and I did use an eye cream. So this is the Laura Mercier Loose Translucent Setting Powder. My favorite thing to use. So I'm just gonna put a little into the cap, and we're going to use a triangular puff. We're going to dip it into the product, and we want it to be almost evenly. And then I'm gonna buff it into the puff again evenly. And then now we're gonna do the under eye. So to blend this portion out, we do not want to spread the product. We're going to buff it into the under eye and lightly work our way in. So we're gonna start from the edges of the concealer, lightly work our way up and blend it out. Ain't nobody look cute doing this portion. And then we do want to blend the edges out. So what I'm going to use is my foundation brush just to blend the edges of the concealer. And again, go in, make sure that there are no creases, because it's very crucial that you try to blend out any crease that might be there, because if you set it, you're going to set the crease. That's not the goal. Buff the edge out. And then we're going to go in with that powder puff and set the under eye. And we now have a set under eye. Isn't that pretty? My go-to is always like a matte, really matte face. But again, I want to create a glowy look. So I'm going to set my face, but I'm not going to heavily set my face, if you get what I mean. So again, you want to buff out any harsh lines that you might have, like my reverse contour, because it doesn't need to be obvious. And the powder puff, I'm going to lightly. So we really want to set the concealer. So all the places that I highlighted, that's really just where I'm going to add setting powder. And whatever is on the puff, I'm just going to go lightly over it. Because again, we don't want a matte face. It's going to be glowy. Now to bronze the face, I'm going to use the Soft Matte Powder Bronzer from Rare Beauty Bronzer. An angled fluffy brush. This is the BK Beauty A507 brush. We're going to dab into the product, lightly buff it onto the hand. And the reason I buff it onto my hand, I do not want to go in with too much product, because it's easier to add, but to take away, that's going to be a problem. We want to go ahead and add a little to the forehead as well. So this is just to reinforce any cream product. So the cream bronzer that I had put down, this is just to go over it. And this helps to provide longevity of all the products. Just a little bit down the side of my nose, because the idea is to be bronzed. And we're gonna do my favorite part next. It's pink, so we're gonna go heavy. Do I have blush blindness? Yes. One of my clients called me a blush fairy, so I'll work with that. Gonna go in with the Juvia's Place Blush and Bronze Blurring Pro Palette, and this is in volume 2. She is gorgeous. Q for music. What I'm going to do is go in with this light shade right here. And we're going to start this right here, almost on the apples of my cheek, but not too low. And I'm going to start it right here for both sides. I'm going to lightly pack it on, because we're going to create like a gradient effect. I'm going to start with this, bring it up under the eye, and slightly blend it into the bronzer. Now we're going to go in with this baby pink right here. And for this portion, we're going to add this to the high points of the cheek. This is an angled blush brush. I got it off Shein. They're so good because it's tapered at the end, and it works perfectly with going into these corner spaces. And whenever you think you've added enough, you add some more, because in person it looks bright, but I ain't seen it on camera yet. Now to melt all of this, or to make it not be powdery, what I like to use is the One Size Powder Melt. This helps to melt everything together more skin-like. So we're going to use this just to lightly drench your face. Well, drench and light can't go together. Now for my pink lip combo, we're going to go in today with these two shades. These are from one of my mutuals on TikTok. Her name is Jessica, and she created these liquid lipsticks. I haven't been able to put them down. Her brand is called Stay Cute Cosmetics. So we're going to line. We're doing all pink. This is a Juvia's Place Luxe Liner, and this is in the shade Coffee Bean. You roll it up, and I'm going to use this to line my lips. Just to blend the edges out, I just lightly tap my lips together. Now we're going to go in with the shade Top Notch from Stay Cute Cosmetics. Did I say this is the best pink in the world? Come on, Jessica. And this is just the blend, like the liner. This is like a topper gloss. It has shimmer in it, and it's called Shade Crush. You can't see it, but it has shimmer. Hi lovies, if you made it to the end of the video, I hope you found this video very helpful. If you have any questions, don't forget to ask down below in the comments. Before you go, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and turn your notifications on so you know whenever I upload a video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.